1,000. I think it's going to be an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. I tried it today, and I tried it yesterday after 5. But that is Michael Reagan's boss. If you'd like to call and talk to him about his comments, we're going to do our best starting Monday to get him on as a guest next week if we possibly can, and see what he has to say. But I appreciate you calling. Is there anything else you'd like to add today?
No, sir. I will support you in anything you might need, and I will be sure to get on the phone and start voting these folks.
Hey, great. Thank you very much for calling.
Yes, sir.
Kucinich presented 35 articles of impeachment against President George W. Bush. We got a phone call. You're on the Real News.
Hello?
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm just fine. I'm calling about Michael Reagan.
Yes, ma'am.
I do not agree with all he says, but he has a right to say it. Some people say things when they're mad they don't really mean. And if people don't want to hear Michael Reagan say it, they can just turn their radio off. That's all there is to it.
You think considering myself an anti-war protester?
I think he has a right for his opinion.
He has the right to say to shoot people?
That's not what you were talking about.
Well, we've got a right to our opinion, but we don't have a right to our own facts. And to call to openly shoot people, I consider that to be wrong.
That's nothing but a figment of speech. He's not going out there and shooting people. That's just a figment of speech. He has freedom of speech, just like you said a few minutes ago. If you don't want to hear what he says, cut it off.
We can certainly cut it off, but we have the right to take him to task when he makes comments that are offensive. You know, I would never come down here and say that we should shoot you for calling in, and that's basically what he said. Okay, we appreciate your comments. Again, Kucinich has offered 35 articles of impeachment against President George W. Bush, urged in a statement that a key House committee commence examination of the articles. It is now imperative that the Judicial Committee begin a review of 35 articles. I will be providing supporting documentation to the committee so that it can proceed in an orderly manner. The weight of evidence contained in the articles makes it clear that President Bush violated the Constitution and the U.S. Code as well as international law, said the Ohio lawmaker, whose efforts to impeach Bush and Vice President Dick Cheney have largely ignored by the mainstream media. The House of Representatives approved Kucinich's motion today to refer the articles of impeachment to the Judiciary Committee, chaired by Representative John Conyers. Kucinich said on Wednesday that he would meet with Conyers this week. Conyers has yet to release a public statement on the motion. He has in the past not been supportive of impeachment efforts. The resolution to impeach Cheney, which Kucinich presented in April 2007, remains stalled in the committee he chairs. It is the House's responsibility as co-equal branch of government to provide an effective check and balance to executive abuse of powers. Kucinich continued in the statement, President Bush was principally responsible for directing the United States Armed Forces to attack Iraq. I believe that there is sufficient evidence in these articles to support the charge that President Bush allowed, authorized, and sanctioned the manipulation of intelligence by those acting under his direction and control, misleading Congress to approve a resolution authorizing the use of force in Iraq. As a result, over 4,000 United States soldiers have died in combat in Iraq, with tens of thousands injured and many of them permanently impaired, explained Kucinich. Over 1 million innocent Iraqis have perished in a war which was based on lies, a war which cost the American taxpayers as much as $3 trillion. The Ohio lawmaker said that it is now incumbent for the Judiciary Committee to review evidence he presented. He promised that if the committee failed to hold any hearings on the resolution within 30 days, he would repeat his effort. He told one reporter Wednesday, leadership wants to bury it, but this is the one resolution that will be coming back from the dead. I will be bringing the resolution up again, and I won't be the only one reading it. This story got practically no media coverage. Whether you agree or disagree with the Bush administration, this is news. And I seriously question the Bush's oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States with the appalling legislation that he has enacted. Patriot Act, Military Commission Act. So this happened this week, and I wanted to report on it. There is an actual impeachment legislation and possible hearings to come, and our media has been very silent on the subject. So something we'll be following and bringing to you in the future to see where it goes. I've got some news here from the past that I've been wanting to report, and I think everyone will find this very interesting. Now, this is from September 10th, 2001. On September 10th, 2001, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld declared war, not on foreign terrorists. The adversaries were closer to home. It's the Pentagon's bureaucracy, he said. He said money wasted by the military poses a serious threat. In fact, it could be said it's a matter of life or death. I'm quoting Donald Rumsfeld. Rumsfeld promised change, but the next day, September 11, 2001, the world changed, and in the rush to fund the war on terrorism, the war on waste seems to have been forgotten. More money for the Pentagon. CBS News correspondent Vince Gonzalez reported, while its own auditors admit the military cannot account for 25% of what it spends. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions. Now, that's what Rumsfeld admitted to on September 10th, 2001. The day before 9/11, Rumsfeld in a press conference says that the Pentagon cannot track $2.3 trillion. That's $8,000 for every man, woman, and child in America. To understand how the Pentagon can lose track of trillions, consider the case of one military's accountant who tried to find out what happened to a mere $3 million. We know it's gone, but we don't know what they spent it on, said Jim Minery, Defense Finance and Accounting Service. Minery, a former Marine turned whistleblower, is risking his job by speaking out for the first time about the millions he noticed were missing from one defense agency's balance sheet. Minery tried to follow the money trail, even crisscrossing the country looking for records. The director looked at me and said, "Why do you care about this stuff?" It took me back, you know. My supervisor asking me why I care about doing a good job, said Minery. He was reassigned and says officials then covered up the problem by just writing it off. They have to cover it up, he said. There's where the corruption comes in. They have to cover up the fact that they can't do their job. The Pentagon's Inspector General partially substantiated several of Minery's allegations, but could not prove officials tried to manipulate the financial statements. 20 years ago, Department of Defense analyst Franklin Spiney made headlines exposing what he calls the accounting games. He's still there, and although he does not speak for the Pentagon, he believes the problems have gotten worse. Those numbers are pie in the sky. The books are cooked routinely year after year, he said. Another critic of Pentagon waste, retired Vice Admiral Jack Shanahan, commanded the Navy's Second Fleet the first time Donald Rumsfeld served as Defense Secretary in 1976. In his opinion, with good financial oversight, we could find $48 billion in loose change in that building without having to hit the taxpayers. Now, did you hear what I said? On September 10, 2001, Donald Rumsfeld, in a press conference, announced the Pentagon could not account for $2.3 trillion. That's $2.3 trillion. Then comes September 11, 2001, and all was forgotten, not even hearings. Look it up on Google. Google Rumsfeld, September 10, 2001. Amazing story with totally unreported. $2.3 trillion, that's 25% of the entire national debt. Just gone missing, like losing a pen or a stapler. I thought everyone should find this astonishing. This is the real news, at its best. And if I hadn't told you this story today, you would probably never heard about it again, I promise you. This is a story that has just fell out of the memory hole, totally ignored, totally forgotten. But that is money taken from us in the form of taxes, and we should demand that this kind of arrogant financial bumbling never be accepted by we the people. Again, phone number is 704-873-14.